Hi, it's the Chappiness guy. Welcome to today's episode of Vestibular Talks, episode 21. Our special guest today is Joyful Gigi. She is dealing with vestibular migraines. She's going to talk about healing holistically and also her approach to acceptance, not surrendering. So stay tuned to the episode. Remember to give like, share, and subscribe. All right, guys, find your chappiness. Hi, Gigi, we're live.
Hey, it's great to
How are
see
you
you.
today?
Doing well. I'm actually having a pretty good day. How about you?
Good, good. Thank you for asking. I
Good.
am very excited to have you in this episode of Vestibular Talks. So thank you very much.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk about all this stuff. Yeah.
It was long overdue because
I was gonna say, you and I have talked a lot over the past several months, so it's nice to finally get to do this. Yeah.
yes. Gigi, would you mind giving a brief introduction of who you are and what's going on with you?
Sure. So my name is Gigi, and I am an English. I teach creative writing and literature to college students. And well, I did. I'm not right now, except I do it like very part-time right now because of my vestibular disorder. It makes it hard to do it full-time. So, do you want to know a little bit about how it started? Would
Yes,
that be
please. Let's
okay?
begin. Yeah.
So I think just is to be as brief as possible with the story. I think everyone's story is complicated and mysterious, first of all.
Yes.
But mine started. I've been on this journey for 19 months, and mine started on July 4th of 2018. And my husband and I have um, a cottage up at a lake about an hour and a half from our house. And we were staying at our cottage for the 4th of July, and people were setting off fireworks everywhere around the lake. It was beautiful, it was just gorgeous, right? Having a really nice night. And towards the end of the evening, someone set off, we didn't know this was going to happen, but someone set off these firecrackers. I don't know what kind they were, but they were extremely loud, and there were thousands of them. They said that it went off for about 10 minutes in succession, like it didn't stop at all for about at least 10 or 15 minutes. It just went and went and went.
Pretty overwhelming, yeah.
It was really overwhelming at the time, but I didn't think much of it except, ow, this really hurts, and I'm really uncomfortable, and this is so loud, and I can't get away from it. You're in a summer cottage. It's not like you have walls or anything. But I didn't really think a lot of it, except I didn't feel great when I went to bed. And this was at the very end of the night that happened. And so I went to sleep, and then about 3 hours later, I woke up it was still dark, but the room was spinning. I could feel the room spinning. And I know anyone who's, you've been there. Anyone,
it's a really unsettling feeling, and it can create a lot of anxiety inside you.
Yeah, it's terrifying because you don't know. I thought I was dying. I laugh about it now, but it was really horrifying. I thought I was dying.
Oh, I bet, yeah.
And now, now that, and I know you've been, how long has your journey been so far?
About 11 months. Yeah, 11 months.
Time too. Like, see, once you've been going through this long enough, you have many of those experiences, many of those kinds of, and I'd like to say you get used to it, but I don't really think you get used to it. You just recognize what it is. So,
and I believe we get stronger because it is, as they happen, we still, at least in my case, I still get a little bit unsettled when something like that happens.
Yes.
But I kind of compose myself. I'm like, it's happened before. I've experienced it before. I'm going to be okay.
Yeah.
So, yes.
You just do your breathing. I practice my breathing. We could talk about that too, for sure. Let's talk about that, because I know we both do that. I practice my breathing, and I close my eyes, do my breathing, just gather myself, and just go, you've done this. You've done this. It has never killed you. It's not going to kill you. You're safe. You're okay. But at that time, the very first time, no idea what was going on.
Oh, yeah.
And it was the middle of the night in the middle of nowhere, basically. We're at our summer camp, out in the middle of nowhere, this cottage. So the next morning, when there was a clinic nearby that opened, and we went, and I think it was the physician's assistant said, you have benign paroxysmal positional vertigo. BPV, which I had never heard of. I had never really even heard of a vestibular disorder at that point. knew nothing about them, didn't really understand the vestibular system, actually didn't understand it at all. I have a cat who's going to come up here with me. Here he is. Hello.
What's his name?
He wants me to throw him treats, so I'm probably going to have to throw him treats while I talk to you.
That's good. What's his name? Tell him that
Johnny Silver. And actually, I should tell you, Johnny Silver is, I'm going to throw him a treat so he can run. Johnny Silver he's missing one leg. When we adopted him, he didn't have he still doesn't, obviously. He doesn't have one of his hind legs. It was bitten off. It was bitten by a snake, and then the vet had to remove it. And then when we adopted him, he was already accustomed to only having 3 legs. But I feel like he teaches me so much about balance.
Oh, I can imagine.
It's incredible watching him. And when I do my exercises and all my balance work and my vision exercises, he actually comes and stands next to me and like leans against my leg. It's kind of incredible. And I know you're an animal person too, right? So I know you totally do this.
And it's so interesting that while you're going through your own life challenges and difficulties with your health because of the vestibular condition, you can learn so much from him because he's gone through adversity, obviously, like being bitten by a snake. I mean, it's probably very, very traumatizing thing to happen, and then losing the leg on top of that. And he looks just so happy, like he was just there hanging with you, chasing.
He's totally adjusted to it. He's the happiest little kitten. He's actually a cat now, but he thinks he's a kitten. But we've had him for a year, and he's been such a help through this journey. He's been such a help. We have another cat too, and I feel like animals are a huge help to people with vestibular disorders, brain injuries, any kind of illness, long-term illness. Huge help. And I learned so much from him. So I feel like once I knew I had BPPV, I'll go back to it, to the story, but once I knew that I had BPPV, we learned how to do the Epley maneuver because we weren't anywhere near our house or our doctors or anybody that could help us at that time. So we had to do it ourselves. So we did the Epley maneuver a few times and it worked. Like I stopped spinning, but however, it worked to make me stop spinning. So maybe I should say what BPPV is to people. Should I say what it is? I know you know what it is. But so just really briefly, it's just when the calcium crystals in your inner ear move into one of the 3. And you and I know so much about this. We can just like talk about it all day. But they move into one of the 3 interior, the 3 canals in your ear that help with balance. So for anyone who doesn't know yet what BPPV is, that's what it is. Some of those crystals, 1 or 2 or however many, move into one of those canals, and those canals are part of our vestibular system controlling balance. So when that happens, the brain does not know where equilibrium is. We cannot find it. So your eyes are actually struggling and your brain are struggling to find it. So do you have BPPV too? Is that one of your things?
No, they said it was triple PD, and then they officially diagnosed me with vestibular migraine.
Vestibular migraine, right. So BPPV is weird because I got it first in my left ear, which was the side that was exposed to all the noise, the crazy loud explosions. And they were so loud. And I don't think people think firecrackers and they're like, oh, that's nothing. I'm like, it wasn't nothing, it was something.
Actually, if you were in an open field, it's going to like enhance even the noise is gonna like make it more
Basically, and we were next to a lake, so really close to the lake. The water, the noise was ricocheting off the water, so it was echoing, lots of echoes, and it was just really loud. And I know that sounds kind of crazy, but it was really loud. And to wake up just a few hours later spinning just was, to me, it wasn't a coincidence. It was such a profound connection. But I soon found out that what happened was I could move those crystals back to the right place in the inner ear with the Epley maneuver, which is kind of a standard maneuver, right, that everyone uses. I could move them back, but I couldn't stop all my other symptoms. So I would stop that spinning sensation, but I would still feel rocking ship, walking on a trampoline, light sensitivity, noise sensitivity, sensitivity to patterns, everything, motion, people. I'm looking like right now, this is so exciting to be able to Skype with you because until very recently, I could not have done this.
Likewise, it's very challenging. It's still challenging for me, but if I focus on looking at you, I'm okay. But if I try to watch everything with my peripheral and also look at you, like it feels like it's moving. So I just focus on you.
Yeah, I think we learned strategies, right? We learned so many strategies for how to get through our day. So I think for me, once I realized this wasn't going to go away, I started seeking medical help. I've been to many vestibular therapists, ENT, otoneurologists, kind of all the standard things that everybody goes to, and I've had every vestibular test. I've had all the, the VOR, caloric testing, the rotary chair, all of the tests, the standard tests. I've also had lots of other tests, like some people get these and some people don't, but I had a heart monitor for a week. My primary care doctor had me do that, which I thought was brilliant because it can be blood pressure related or heart related. Dizziness can be caused by lots of things, and that's why our journeys are long, because it can be caused by so many things. It can be problems with hormones. It can be problems with our eyes, our ears, our proprioception, the sense of where our body is in space. It can be problems with our nerves, our brain. I mean, there's just so many things. And for I think most of us, it's often a combination of things.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. So for me, during that long journey, after that first night of like, what's going on? Okay, I have BPPV, but that's not all I have. There's something else going on. It just was going from doctor to doctor, trying to figure things out and not getting a lot of answers that were clear. And you and I talked about, like, people will give you one diagnosis, like one specialist will give you one diagnosis because it's the thing that they know really well. And then they won't really be able to help you. So you're kind of like, okay, I'm doing all the vestibular exercises. I'm walking every day. I'm exercising. I've gone to a nutritionist and changed my diet so that I'm not eating any inflammatory foods for me. I mean, I've done all these things and I'm still really dizzy. So now what? And I feel like, tell me if this has been your experience, Johan, but I feel like some doctors kind of ghost you. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, in that phenomenon of people just they just stop communicating with you online. It's a similar thing where some doctors will just sort of disappear. Like they'll be like, that's really all we can do.
They
don't
dismiss you.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, no, I was gonna say I know what you're saying, because they dismiss you. Because the DC patient is so hard to treat that they kind of like just listen to you first. They're like, well, you have a diagnosis. Good luck. Get better. And yeah, take care. So you're left alone. You're left alone. You're
alone,
like,
and literally alone. It is the darkest, and I think that's important to mention, how alone you feel, because no one around you understands. You might have people who love you. I know you have people in your life that you love, and they love you, and they're there for you. And I do too, and I feel so lucky, like, because I know not everyone has that who's dealing with this horrible thing. So that's why I love being able to reach out to other people, because we all need to help each other. Because even if you have a support network, a system of people, friends, family, etc., doctors even, who are supportive, you're alone in this. They don't know what it feels like, and they can't know what it feels like. You can describe it, but you can't. They just can't know what it feels like 24/7 to feel this way.
Yeah,
so it's tough, but I think going through this journey from doctor to doctor to doctor. So I'm like speeding through all these doctors I went to, because it's the same story again and again. We all tell it. Oh, I tried this doctor. I tried this medicine. I tried this therapy, or frustrated. But I do feel like the one thing that's kept me going, besides my cat who's on my lap, the one thing that's really kept me going is curiosity and not giving up. Like, just being curious, being super curious and going, okay, well, this is mysterious and strange. I've never experienced this before. What else can I find out about it? There's got to be some more answers here. And maybe the doctors don't know yet for someone like me. And I think for a lot of us who get very confusing diagnoses for a long time, that's a big part of it. Like, no one quite knows what category to fit you in, because you don't have neuritis or you don't have a brain tumor. I was tested for Lyme disease. I didn't have Lyme disease. I didn't have MS. I didn't have Meniere's. I had my hearing tested. I don't have Meniere's. I mean, they don't know what to do with you at that point. My MRI looked normal. you know, it looks like I'm 52, so it looks like a 52-year-old brain. It's got a little wear and tear, you know, but overall it looks really normal. So that's not it. They think that at that point they're like, oh, that couldn't be it. And I think I had my MRI a few months into this. So I had my MRI more than a year ago, and it looked normal. And what I've learned since then is an MRI can look normal and you can still have problems. And so that's really important to know, that because an MRI can look completely normal, but at the molecular level, there could be issues with neurological issues like interrupted connections. And I'm speaking as a novice, as an amateur, but as a patient who's been through it. You know, so I don't know all that. I don't know all of it, but I do know the piece that I do know is that I've learned from my doctors that I've found through being curious is if you keep trying to ask questions and keep trying to find things out, you find out a lot more about the brain and how it works, and about the vestibular system and how it works, and also about your eyes. Because I kept asking questions and not getting answers that were clear to me. I kept going, I can't. They'd say things like, please, I know you've probably experienced this. Please tell me. Please tell me you have. The one where they say, well, if you just stop being anxious, you'll feel a lot better.
It's very disappointing. That's the word that I want to use. It's very disappointing because, of course, we're going to be anxious. So the symptoms that we feel are so surreal. Gigi, like
realization is very, very anxiety producing.
And it's hard for a doctor or for any person to comprehend that another human being can wake up every day being dizzy every day, being completely confused, having all these visual disturbances because our eyes start to play almost like mini hallucinations on us, like things that people are like, okay, you're either losing your mind or you're high on some drugs because the symptoms sound so unbelievable, and it's hard for them to realize that this is something real. So yes, obviously we're gonna be anxious because we just want to be back to, hey, I want my balance back. I want my eyes to see again the way they used to see. I don't want to feel nauseous anymore. I don't want to feel afraid anymore. I just want to feel balance. So yes.
And I want to feel I want to feel present in the world. I want to feel present when I am with people in the same room. I want to feel like I'm actually in the same room with them. Do you know, like I often feel like I'm not really here. And these are all things that I know neither you nor I had felt before. I had never felt these things before. The only thing I would say, and this is what, through this long journey, I learned a lot because I finally found a doctor. And I know you just interviewed two doctors who are neuro-optometrists. Is that correct? And I finally found one myself. And it took me, I was more than a year into the journey before I met my neuro-optometrist. And that was life-changing for me because I had asked through that whole process of all those tests that I just talked about, I had asked and asked and asked, could it be my eyes? Could it just be my eyes? I don't have the best eyes. I go to the eye doctor every year religiously because I don't have the best eyes and never have. So I have, I'm nearsighted, but now I also have, because I'm in my 50s, I have also problems with up close. So I wear normally progressive lenses, and actually my progressive lenses are right here, and I'll show them to you because they've been outfitted with, can you see those? They have on the here and here, they have binasal occlusions. Yeah, binasal occlusions. And I also have a pair of prism lenses that I've had changed a couple times. I've gone through a couple different ones, and they don't work well for me. But when I went to this neuro eye doctor, I realized his whole background was in people who have concussions, brain injuries, strokes, binocular vision dysfunction, things that other doctors aren't going to necessarily recognize, not even regular eye doctors. So my own eye doctor tested my eyes twice. He's a great eye doctor. He's fantastic. He's helped me with lots of other stuff. He was like, yeah, your tracking is totally normal. Everything's normal. But when I just kept thinking, I don't think it is. I don't think it is. And then somebody said to me in some support group I was in, it was an online support group, which, a bunch of people with vestibular disorders in an online support group is kind of like a bad joke. Because like most of us can't really be on the computer, and yet we're desperately trying to connect. We're like, hi, how are you? We're using voice recognition, anything we can so we can connect. Even if it makes us dizzy, we're like, hi, it's another person who understands. So someone is like, you've been there, I know. And I mean,
it's true, yes, very true.
I'll be like on my phone on Instagram going, okay, I should not be doing this right now, but I just need to see, what did Johan just post? Okay, oh, okay, good. Oh, I love that. You know, I've got to, because I don't have people who understand, you know? So
I know.
So someone in the support group said to me, you need to get your eyes tested. I'm like, I've had my eyes tested 3 times this year, I think. And she said, no, you need to get them tested by somebody who knows neurospecialist, somebody who really knows how the brain works, how the nerves work, and how they work in relation to the eyes.
Yeah.
Ooh, she said, go online and take this test. And I know that the doctors that you just interviewed recently, they have that test also online that you can go on and take. And I took it. This was like last September, maybe. I took the test that's available. If you just Google like binocular vision dysfunction test or something like that, I think you'll get it, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I did. And I got the test, I took it. And I think it said something like, did yours say like, if you score 15 or above, you likely have binocular dysfunction or something like that. And I scored, they sent me my score, it was like 40 something.
Yeah.
I was like, I have binocular dysfunction. And that is the one thing that I think is really interesting. I think I had binocular dysfunction for a long time, way before any of this happened. I think that the BPPV, this is my theory. I could be way off, and I'd love to hear if I am. And I'd love to hear your opinion on this, but my theory is that I had binocular dysfunction because I struggled to see things close up and far away for a long time, even with progressive lenses on. I was struggling a lot with my vision over the years anyway, just never dizzy or anything like that, but I struggled just to see well. And so I think like I would do this to look at things close up, I would close one eye, you know, that kind of thing. And that's like a classic sign that you have some kind of dysfunction, right? So I looked for a doctor in my area, found one. The next morning I called. Like as soon as I took that test, I'm like, I need to find out. I went to see him. He was amazing. He was the first doctor who was like, number one, yes, loud noises like what you heard can absolutely cause concussions. They can absolutely cause BPPV. All these things that you're experiencing could absolutely be caused by that, except I think you do have binocular dysfunction. The tests show, he did extensive testing on my eyes. He's like, you have binocular dysfunction, and we're going to do vision therapy, and we're going to put you in prism lenses, and we're going to see what happens. I think it's going to help. And that was in September, and it's helped quite a bit. I mean, I still have a long way to go, but it's the first time in my journey that I've had change, and the change has not been, as I said, with the prism lenses. It's been with therapy. The therapy has helped me a lot.
So you mentioned a lot of very, very interesting points, and I wish I could interview you every day because you have so many good facts. Like you have so many good things. So yes, you're 100% correct. I believe many people, including us, can have a binocular dysfunction for many years without noticing, because nothing really triggered it to affect us. Like our bodies were able to like compensate.
Right, we compensated and adapted. Our brains got used to having it, so they knew what to do.
So that's why I believe when you said that it might be a combination of things, that something triggers the domino effect. So for example, you might have had the binocular dysfunction for many years, but never really affected your balance. But then all this
one event.
And these loud noises might have triggered the BPPV in you, which it affected your vestibular system. So now your eyes are trying to rely, like your balance is relying more on your eyes, in the input that your eyes are bringing in. So now your eyes feel more strained. So that binocular dysfunction might have been more like, whoa, like what just happened here? So it might have the domino effect, boom, 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 going down, started triggering thing after another. But yes, I am not surprised that you experienced that. And I'm very proud of you for doing your research and pushing and being your own advocate to come to this conclusion. Because you
and I know you do this too. You have to be your own advocate, because there's as advanced as medicine is in many ways, and as much as they're learning about vestibular disorders, there's still so much they don't know. know. So, and they're still learning, and I know, and I think it's an exciting time for the field, but it's a hard time to be, any time is a hard time to be someone with one of these disorders, because whatever the cause, ultimately, whatever the cause, and I do think it's for me, and probably for you, and probably for most of us, it's a combination of things. So that's why I don't believe in blaming, and I'm not going to point fingers at anyone or blame anyone. It's not like that. It's, this happened and it stinks, but I'm going to figure out how to get through it, you know? But I really think that we have to recognize that it can be complicated and it can take a long time to find the answers. So we have to be our own advocates, and we have to ask a lot of questions. It was so funny the other day, I had to transfer some medical notes over to a new doctor I'm going to see. And I saw the notes, and in the notes that I think it was one of my vestibular therapists said something like, she's great, she asked tons and tons of questions.
But it's good. It's good. And you know what, Gigi? That's why it is so important. And I know you've taken this approach as well as I have, that in order to heal from this, you need to take a holistic approach. Many people are looking for the one magic pill. They're like, what medication do you take? What are you taking? What are you taking? And I'm like, it's not what I'm taking. It's everything that I'm doing that it helps me, like with the diet, meditation, breathing, my vestibular exercises, my vision therapy. I'm in vision therapy as well.
So lifestyle choices, yeah.
Yes, all these little things are a long process, because you're right. We're here for the long run. So we need to keep doing a holistic approach in order to get better.
Absolutely. I love that you use the word holistic, because for me, that is absolutely the center of everything, is that it's a holistic approach. So for me, I've done acupuncture. Acupuncture helped me a lot in the early days with nausea. When I had really severe nausea, it helped me a lot. I don't do it anymore. Well, I shouldn't say I don't do it anymore. I haven't done it for a while. I'll go back to it if I need to, but I'm doing so many therapies that it gets overwhelming. It gets overwhelming for my schedule, my psyche, and my pocketbook. I'm in the US. I know you're in Canada. In the US, lots of these therapies are not covered by insurance. So a lot of it is out of pocket. And I don't know, probably for you too, much of what I have to do is out of pocket. My vision therapy is out of pocket. Acupuncture is out of pocket. But I also do lots of other therapies. I go to mental health therapy, which I think, number one, is so important for somebody who's got long-term vestibular disorder of any kind, or brain injury, eye dysfunction, where it's debilitating to the point where you struggle to work, use a computer, whatever, all those like daily tasks. We don't have to go into it because we know what they are. There's just like life, anything, basically, where you're struggling like that for the long term, you need to have a good therapist to help you on that journey. I really believe that.
I agree.
And for people who are spiritual, a good spiritual leader is great too. Just, you need to have mentors and guides, you know, I think it's really important. So for me, I have a great Reiki person. I really believe in energy work, and Reiki is really helpful. If acupuncture is helpful for you, yoga, meditation, whatever things are helpful to you, diet, absolutely. I would love to talk about that. Diet and mindfulness, and really tapping in and learning about your parasympathetic, understanding the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, and understanding how to tap into your breathing. All of those things have been what got me through. So it is like a holistic approach. There's no magic bullet. There's no one answer. I mean, maybe for a few people, maybe people they could take one medicine and it's all good, but I haven't met anybody.
The one thing that you and I were talking about last week that really touched close to home was when you said one of the biggest things that has helped you is acceptance and compassion with yourself. So let's talk about that.
Absolutely. And I know when I said that, you immediately said yes, because it's absolutely key. And it took me a really long time to finally accept I have a vestibular disorder. Like, I could say it. I said it, from the very beginning. I'm like, oh, I have BPPV, and they don't know what's going on with my brain. They think I might have this. They think I might have that. I suddenly said to myself very recently, probably about 3 months ago, I just said to myself, you've been getting lots and lots of diagnoses. You've been getting lots of slant eye, from a lot of people, doctors and lay people. You've been getting all kinds of stuff. You need to just accept the experience. This is what you're experiencing. It doesn't define you. It's not your identity. because that's not acceptance. That's just like taking it on and making it yourself. And that's not it either.
Yeah.
It's not my identity. It's not who I am now, but it definitely controls a lot of my life. It has a lot to say about how I live my life. So I need to accept it. And acceptance is not the same thing as giving up. And that's what I think you and I were both like, yes, because somebody understood. Like, it's not that I'm giving up. I'm not going, okay, this is how I am for the rest of my life. I'm just going to be sitting in this chair that you're talking to me in right now, and I'm never going to move. No, that is not acceptance. Acceptance is, it's a kind of, it involves grace. It involves saying, okay, this is what I'm experiencing today in this moment. It's being very present, very mindful in the moment, not freaking out about the past, ruminating over it, missing your old life, because that gets you nowhere. Yes. But also not freaking out about the future and getting worked up, because then you spin more. You get more of a spiral and more of a sense of, oh, the future, oh my God, what if I'm like this forever? Oh, that doesn't help either. Acceptance is, here I am in this moment, and this is how I feel right now. And it's not going to stay the same. It's always changing.
It's always evolving, yes.
Always evolving and changing. So, and even when I feel really yucky, I'm having kind of I would say I'm having a medium day. What kind of, I hope you're having a good day. Today for me, it's a medium day.
I'm okay. I didn't have the best night of sleep last night. Yeah. But that affects me, like if I don't get proper sleep.
Me too.
But I'm okay. Like I'm okay. Yeah. Just like no real dizziness right now, just a little bit of nausea, but
nausea. Yeah, me too. Nausea today and derealization. I don't have a lot of dizziness today, but a lot of derealization today. Yeah, but I feel like even though you and I are we're having some symptoms, we can still have this. Yes. So we can still have a life, and I think we owe ourselves that. We owe ourselves as much of a life as we can possibly have, no matter what's going on with the brain, the inner ear, the eye, the proprioception. We can still have a lot. We can still have a kind of an amazing life because we can do things for other people. We can reach out and help other people who have this disorder, and it's changed my life in ways that I can't measure, but it's also taught me lessons that I would never have learned otherwise.
Yep. And I noticed that you also.
Does that make sense in terms of acceptance? That's acceptance for me.
It does. And I also noticed that you're very compassionate, because even though you're going through this, we follow a lot of the same people on Instagram. We have a lot of the same friends, and I see when they make a post and whether they are struggling and they're like, oh, they're having a really crappy day, or they say they are having a great day, you usually leave a little comment of encouragement. Like your comments are never really negative. You're never like, oh, I hate this. Why do we get this? I hate it. No, like you're usually very like, oh, good job, or hang in there, it's gonna get better. So you have a lot of that, and I feel that says a lot about you. Because even though you're going through this exact same thing or even worse than many people, you still try to reach out there to give a word of hope or some kindness into the world.
That's so nice of you to know.
That's very nice.
Thank you so much. That means a lot to me. And it because I believe it's really important to do that. Number one, I don't want anyone else to suffer like this alone. I want everyone to have community, and even if it's just online community. And I actually don't mean just online community. Online community is real. Here we are, right? So I want everyone to be able to have community. And what's so great for people with vestibular disorders is there's a huge community of us. I guess that's good and bad. It's bad that many people are suffering, but it's good that we have a community and that we can connect on Instagram, Facebook, whatever platforms work for people. But I think it's also really good that we have the Vestibular Disorder Association, and they're amazing. They're a great resource for people. We have places to reach out to find out about doctors, to find out about testing, to find out about just how to live your life after the changes of a vestibular disorder. And they are significant changes. And the people, not only how to live your life, but how to help the people around you live their lives too, because they're going to struggle too. And I think a lot of people forget about the caregivers, the people who help you through this. My husband has been incredible. Like,
Angel.
Yeah, and I know you have an amazing wife. Like, we have really great partners who've helped us to on the really, I've had days that I can't even believe I've had those days. They were so bad. Like, they were by far, in the last 19 months, I've had by far the worst days of my life. Physically, mentally, emotionally, every way, spiritually, every way. I've had the toughest days, the days of questioning why I'm here. Why should I keep going? And I think people shy away from talking about how devastating it can be, but I do not. But I also, like you said, I don't linger in the dark. Like I don't linger in the negativity. I believe in trying to be positive every day and finding beauty and joy in every single day, even the days when I cannot move my head. I have like one of these little airplane pillows, and I use it on days when I can't move my head because it helps me to keep my head, on days when I can't go out and I can't move my head, put that little airplane pillow, put some ice on my neck, but I think we have to, even on those days, we have to stay really positive if we can. And if we can't stay positive, which is totally human and normal and okay, can I swear?
Yeah.
To just sit in the shit sometimes. Like some days are just shitty, and to just sit in it and be with it and go, oh, this is a really bad day, but I'll survive. It's really okay.
Yes.
But I think, there's days that get even harder than that, and I think for people who are really struggling with, why am I here? Why am I still doing this? Like this is really hard. I mean, feeling suicidal or feeling like you're not, like your life is not worth anything anymore is very common for people with vestibular disorders and brain injuries and eye disorders. I just think it's important to be super supportive of one another for that reason, and to let people know there's always someone you can reach out to, and someone else who knows what it feels like.
Yeah. It's thank you for touching that, because you're right. It's suicide is a thought that crosses our minds when we are at the lowest, darkest point of these conditions.
Yes.
But we made it through, and we're getting better. And if we did it, other people can have that hope as well. They don't have to feel that they are alone and that it's gonna get worse and worse and worse and worse. Or it might get worse. But you know what? Don't give up, because other people are getting better. So you could too. So
you could too, and it might get worse and then get better and then get worse and then get better.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
exactly.
My journey is I've had things kind of slide backwards when I've had another round of BPPV, when the crystals moved again in my ear or something like that, and then I'll have a month or two that are really tough sometimes, because for me, I have BPPV now in both ears. Lucky me. My I have it in both ears, and actually I have a new vestibular therapist, and he tested me recently, and he said, oh, you've got some crystals stuck, actually not in the canal, but in the hairs outside of the canal. So you're not spinning, but you feel a lot worse than you used to, right? I'm like, yes, the last few months have been horrible. He's like, that's why. I said, why did no one see it? He said, I don't know, but I saw it. So we had to then spend a few weeks getting those crystals unstuck. It took a while. But so I'm just thinking, even on those times, you have to recognize, okay, I might get worse for a while. I'll get better though. It's not a straight journey. It's not a straight path. It's not. It just isn't.
No, it isn't.
But we know that someone else is going through it. Like when you and I connected, or anybody that you connect with, and I love what you do. I mean, the fact that you make these videos and that you so reach out to people, both patients and doctors and experts in the field. I think it's really important, because you're helping people get information that's clear from lots of different perspectives. It's really great what you do.
Thank you, appreciate it. Well, this wouldn't be possible without you guys, so thank you. Gigi, something that I've learned is, so you do the Ipley maneuver, yes, you can do that at home yourself. There is also something called the half somersault maneuver.
Yes.
So I do that every day myself, just to make sure that if it could be part of BPPV, that I kind of like put the crystals back in place. So the somersault maneuver could be another strategy that you could implement yourself at home.
The somersault maneuver is great too, and there's also a liberatory maneuver, the CMOT maneuver, that I use a lot for when the crystals get stuck. So for people who have BPPV, and I think this is important for people who have a persistent BPPV, one that recurs. Some people, they have it once, they do the Epley maneuver, it's gone, and it never bothers them again. And bless them, they're so lucky. And I'm so happy for them. I really, truly am. But for those of us that have persistent BPPV that keeps coming back, like I can't lie, they tell me, oh, it's fine, lie on your side in bed, it's fine. No. If I lie on my side in bed, there's always a night. It might be a week, or it might be 2 weeks, or it might be a month, but I will wake up spinning. It's what happens to me. And for some of us, it's just the way it is. For me, it's both my ears. So I sleep on my back and I sleep propped up a little bit. I never sleep flat. I just don't. And I don't do anything flat. For anybody who's got BPPV, if you've got to go to appointments where you're supposed to lie flat, just tell them. Dentist, hair, anything, massage, whatever you do in your daily life, you don't have to lie flat. You don't. I know that they try to get you to. You don't have to.
Yeah, no, good. That's important.
So it's really important. But also there's a maneuver that I do. Yeah, the liberatory maneuver is really helpful because it's one that you can do on your own very easily. And it's one where you turn your head and you throw yourself down. You just have to do it really fast. You have to be physically able to do it really fast. So if it's somebody who doesn't have that physical ability, it's not a good one. But if you are physically able and to turn your head and throw your body one way, keep your head turned, throw your body the other way after a certain time. If you're physically able to do that, that maneuver is fantastic to do at home yourself. But what I would say too for BPPV, and this is really important, is the first time it ever happens, and even subsequent times, try to go, if you do have BPPV, try to go to a specialist, somebody who really knows how to do the LRemember maneuver. And there's a reason. The reason is really important because people end up with crystals stuck in really awful places in their inner ear. Go to somebody who knows how to do it so that they get the crystals out of the canal and not into another canal. That sometimes if people do it on their own, they don't do it quite right, and it's not easy to do. It's hard to do because you're spinning while you're doing this. You don't feel good while you do it. It's very frightening. It's actually as frightening as having BPPV. Yeah. It's really scary. So yes, it's not fun to do because you have to spin. You have to make yourself feel like you're spinning. When I say so, just for people who don't know, when I say you make yourself spin, all I mean is that you have to put your head in a position that makes the crystals. It makes you have what's called nystagmus, where your eye goes like this really fast, back and forth, or both your eyes, actually. Your eyes go back and forth, because they're trying to find equilibrium. And as that's happening, what you're experiencing is the world going like this, just like a top. So when you do the LRemember maneuver, if you have BPPV at that moment, which is the most awkward thing to say, but if you have BPPV at that moment, you will spin. When you do it, you'll have the experience of feeling like you're spinning right off the bed. You're not, but you'll feel like you're spinning, or you'll feel like the world is spinning, one or the other. And so going through that, it's really important to go to an expert to have them do it and teach you really well how to do it so that you can do those maneuvers on your own. Because I've seen people who end up with BPPV that's persistent because they didn't go to somebody who could help them do it professionally. And not every I would just say one more thing, which is that not every physical therapist is a vestibular therapist. They go to special training, and there's a lot of physical therapists out there who maybe know how to do the LRemember maneuver, but they don't know much else about vestibular disorders. So it's really important to look up and do your research and find somebody who is actually a specialist. There are physical therapists who's a specialist in vestibular disorders. I just had to get that in there because I've seen so many people suffer needlessly, including myself.
It's true. Very true. And then you're right. Like this is a very expensive process. Like the healing process with this, I've been spending in the span of 11 months over, I think I'm at $19,000 in debt now with all the treatments that I've done. However, I'm getting better and better now, right? Like I'm starting to be more independent, learn a few things that I can do on my own and stuff. But for somebody I'm blessed that God has blessed me with the job I have and the ability that I have to be able to pay for these things, but not everybody's blessed like that. So that's why this community is important, because we can share the tips and advice that can maybe help someone at home that is not able to afford going to these therapies or to these treatments, right? So
they're expensive. Like we were saying earlier, they're usually not, many of these treatments are not covered by insurances in many countries. And not every country, I've talked, and I know you have too, I've talked to people all over the world with vestibular disorders, and some countries have very few resources and some have a lot. And we have a lot in the US, but the US is a big country, so you have to travel. Like you don't just have everybody right there. So you spend a lot of money. Yeah, it's really expensive. And I know in Canada is the same way, right? It's really expensive. So I feel like for myself, like for example, I had to for several months last year, I had to travel to Boston. I live in Maine, and I had to travel to Boston, which in and of itself is horrifying. But I had to travel to Boston, and I actually have a question I need to ask you about traveling. So don't let me forget. I had to travel to Boston to go to my otoneurologist because he's in Boston. He teaches at Harvard and he's at Mass Eye and Ear, and I had to go to Massachusetts. I have great people here in Maine too. Now I found all these amazing people, but it took me 19 months to get here. It took me a long time. So I would like to save other people some of that time and money and just say, make sure you're going to people who are really well trained in right. And if you go to an ENT, go to an ENT who's a vestibular specialist. Not all ENTs are. Some of them don't know that much about the vestibular system. I know that sounds weird because they're ENTs, but they don't all know a lot about that. Some of them are focused on other things, Yeah. So I went to an ENT, that wasn't really his thing. So he's like, I really don't know what to tell you. I can order all the tests for you, but I don't know what to tell you. That was money wasted and time wasted. Because I didn't know, there are ENTs who know about this and ENTs who don't. So I would say I would love to save people time and money, and just the heartache of it. Like you said, I'm getting better now, very slowly. I'm getting better. I feel differences. I can talk to you on a computer. I couldn't have done that last year this time. I couldn't have done that 4 months ago. Yeah, so Skype. And I can do a few other things that I couldn't do. I would like to get back to teaching, but I don't know how that's going to look right now because I teach writing and reading. Like that's what I do. I can't read whole books yet, and I can't have 50 students' papers in front of me that I'm do that. It's too much for my eyes, and it makes me really overwhelming. Yeah. So I work right now independently. I do directed studies with students, and I'm training in other things now because I think I maybe need to change my life a little bit and maybe not just keep writing. I'm never going to stop writing, but I might need to do other kinds of work and other kinds of teaching. I'm not sure how that's going to look yet, but I'm doing other things. I'm not going to stop my life. I'm just going to change it. And that ties into what we said about acceptance. Okay, I can't read book after book after book the way that I used to. I listen to a lot of books. I listen to books on Audible all the time, but I can't read them the way that I used to, but I can certainly still teach. It's just different now,
Yeah, so, we have to adapt to our new circumstances.
I'm sorry.
No, I just said we have to adapt to our new circumstances.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gigi, what were you going to ask me about traveling?
Oh, I was going to ask you, because I know that those doctors had mentioned going to New York. Is that something you would do? Johan had interviewed these two amazing neuro opticians who was saying that they have new kind of prism glasses, it sounds like, that are not new necessarily, but ones that not everybody gets prescribed. They're like micro prisms. Yeah, and they were saying, come to New York, and is that something you would do? I'm trying to decide how much would I spend, how much would I do to make this better, to keep getting better? What would I do? So I just love knowing, and you don't have to answer. I'm just curious.
Okay, so I've been considering it. I've been talking to the doctors quite a bit.
Okay.
A few other vestibular patients have reached out to me online after they watched the video, and they asked me the same. They're like, "Are you going? Are you going?"
It's none of my business, but I'm asking you anyway.
No. I'm perfectly fine with you asking me. I'm an open book, so yeah. I've been considering it. However, it's tough, Gigi, because I keep getting better and better and better, that I'm like, is this something that I need to do now, or should I just maybe hang on for a couple more months to see how I keep improving and keep evolving before I commit to going? So but I am considering it. I haven't said no. I'm still thinking about it.
That's a great way of thinking of it, I think, because if you're feeling like you're making improvements right now with what you're doing, like we all kind of spend several months and sometimes in many cases years, right? We spend all this time trying to figure out that right combination, like get all the puzzle pieces together for what works for us. And then when we start to see changes, like I just started seeing changes, really significant changes, I would say 4 months. It's been about 4 months. And it's really since I started vision therapy. So I think, this is an important piece of my puzzle. But coinciding with that is I've been, there's going to be a loud noise because my mail is here. Sorry. Coinciding with that, though, is there it goes. Thank you. Coinciding with that is that I've also been eating an anti-inflammatory diet. I did lots of blood tests. I went to a dietitian had lots of blood testing done, and found out what things I'm reactive to, what things cause inflammation in my body, what things, what very detailed, what minerals I was borderline deficient in, what things could be contributing to gut problems. I didn't have what I thought were gut problems, but I think if you have brain problems and vestibular problems, there's a good chance, or there could also be some gut problems. So I take supplements. I take a lot of supplements. I know you do too. I take a lot of supplements.
A lot.
And I eat really, really, really well. I eat a plant-based diet. I've eaten a plant-based diet for 30 years, but now it's even more plant-based. Like I don't have any, like I found out that milk is absolutely like just the worst thing for me. And so I had always had just a little bit of milk every now and then, mostly plant milks, but every now and then I'd have cow milk, and I don't anymore at all. And I don't have wheat, and I have like a whole list of things I don't eat anymore that I'm like, people say, oh, I'm sensitive to that, and they haven't been tested. If you get tested, because you'll know for sure what you're sensitive to. And I found out I was sensitive to more than 20 things, and I've cut them out of my diet for now. And some things I test every now and then to see, am I still sensitive to that or not? And I'll probably get my blood tested again. But you've done the blood tests too, right? Or have you?
Yes, yes, I have. And then something that is important is the way you're saying anti-inflammatory foods. So yes, we diet and the connection between the gut. So the gut is like our second brain, basically. Yeah. There are so many nerves that connect our whole body with our gut, that we truly are what we eat. People say you are what you eat. Yes. So I agree with you. Like things like milk, cow milk, or dairy, or they are not necessarily good for everyone. And people are under the misconception like, oh, but it's good for calcium and it's good for your bones.
There's lots of ways to get calcium.
yes, more effective ways. So meat, milk, meat, other things like certain vegetables, certain fruits like citric fruits like oranges, lime. Certain things can cause more inflammation to some people and not to others.
Some people. Yeah, yes. And that's the key, is finding out what is personally for you causing inflammation. Because you can go online and Google anti-inflammatory diet, and that's fine. That's a place to start, but it's not specific enough, because some things that cause inflammation in some people don't in others, and vice versa. Like it's a very personal thing. Your body, everyone's body is different. So my body, like I found out things that didn't surprise me at all. Like the milk one did not surprise me, because I've never done a lot of milk. It always gives me a stomach upset. So, but the thing about milk is it's not necessarily that you have an allergy. You don't necessarily have an allergy. You might just have a sensitivity to one of the proteins, and milk has many proteins. It's not just lactose. So it could be something else. So once you find out, though, like milk was not surprising to me, but then there were things that were, like I normally eat a lot of broccoli. I love broccoli. Incredibly good for you. It's full of all kinds of incredible vitamins. It's so good. Roughage, it's great. I can't eat it. I didn't know that. And I've been eating it for years, like a lot. It's one of my favorite vegetables, but now I don't eat it because I've tried it. I've gone back one time. For 6 months, I didn't try anything that was on my list of things. And I've gotten to past the 6-month point, and I'm trying a few things every now and then just to see if there's anything that I have less sensitivity to now that I've been off it. I'll never go back to milk, but I will try things like broccoli because I miss it. And so I tried some broccoli and immediately had issues. Like within 6 hours, I had issues. Yeah. So I was like, okay, there's something to this. This is important. I think that pay attention to what you're eating and putting in your body. The days when I haven't, there aren't very many of them anymore, but every now and then, like right around the holidays, I might have had a day or two where I ate things that I wouldn't say I shouldn't have eaten them, but if I wanted to feel great, I shouldn't have eaten them. I would never shame somebody about eating something delicious, but I still think we have to enjoy the food that we eat. It's just that we have to find alternatives to a lot of things.
Yeah. Yes.
Did you have any surprises about foods that you thought, oh, this is so good for me, and for you it actually wasn't good?
Beets, red beets.
Yeah, who would think red beets?
I used to eat them by the pounds. Like I used to eat them all the time, and then I found out that I couldn't eat them anymore. And I was like, "What the heck? I've been eating them like there is no tomorrow. Like they are going out of style." Yeah.
That's so funny because it might be part of why you have a little bit of an intolerance, because I think some things that we eat a lot, sometimes our body starts to build up an intolerance. I think that's what happened to me with broccoli, because I ate it all the time. I ate it a lot. And I'm thinking maybe there'll become a day when I haven't had it in a while, but I'll be able to just have a little broccoli every now and then, just bring it back in just a little bit. There's a few other things too like that. But
I'd have to check on that, because I do eat broccoli every day, twice a day. So I have to check if maybe I'm becoming sensitive to it.
You might not be though, which would be so good, because it's so healthy. It's so good. It's like if someone said to me, "You can't have any more kale," I'd be like, "What? No, I need kale. I need spinach. I love my greens." You know, I can have.
Be careful with kale. I was also eating kale smoothies every day.
Oh no.
And then there is a compound in kale. I can't remember the exact name, but
no.
Yes, it becomes toxic if you start doing it daily. So
okay, I won't do it daily.
Okay.
I won't do it daily. I'm not doing it daily, but I do like having it every week. But I am not doing it daily.
Okay, so you're good. But I was doing kale smoothies every day, and they told me no. They said stop that.
Yeah, because it's so often in a good green smoothie. There's often kale or spinach, and so I alternate though, because I don't love kale, but I eat it because I know it's good for me.
Yeah.
So I'll have like a kale salad, or I'll have kale in a smoothie. But but it's good to know this. I won't overdo it with the kale.
Careful with that.
Finding a balance, right? Everything in moderation. Finding a balance. Varying your foods, not having the same foods again and again and again. Except I do eat a lot of beans and brown rice, because they're incredibly good for you, and I'm a vegetarian, and I'm trying to get my protein. So that's one of the ways I do. And I found out that I'm, again, because I think because I had so much soy in the years leading up to this, soy is one of the foods I'm not supposed to have right now. So not having soy takes a big chunk out of a vegetarian diet.
Diet, yeah.
So I'm doing, for plant-based, I'm doing a lot more beans than I was before, like just other kinds of beans, because I'm fine with all other kinds of legumes. But yeah, I think diet's huge. Diet, water, drinking tons of water, and getting really good rest, because your brain needs that time for the batteries to recharge. It has those batteries that do you experience this? I just have to ask. I experience a kind of fatigue that I've never had before, where I'll do something early in my day. I might have an appointment or something, and I do the appointment, everything's fine, and then like an hour or two later, I am suddenly so tired that I literally can't keep my eyes open. I have to close my eyes and sleep for a while. And I'd never experienced that until this. Like I was always a very high energy person, but now I had it happen yesterday, actually. I had an appointment in the morning. I had to come home and sleep I wanted to sleep for like 3 hours, but I only could sleep for 1 hour. I had another appointment. I had a phone appointment. But I think the exhaustion that I feel at those times, it's hard to talk. It's hard to move. It's like this weird, my brain needs time to recharge. And I never know when it's going to happen. I never know which things are going to cause that. Although I would say going to the grocery store is one of the most taxing things. So often after groceries, I'm like, I need to rest.
That's that's very,
it's really hard.
Grocery store is a difficult one. Gigi, let's talk, since we've been talking about balance, let's talk about the vagus nerve and your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system.
Yeah, so important, right? I mean, and again, I thought I understood, oh yeah, breathing is really important, blah, blah, blah. I thought I understood all these things before, but now I see what it can do, the power of learning how to breathe, learning how to pause, learning how to learning how to meditate, like really meditate, and also to just practice. They're such simple practices, but learning how to stop. So actually, the grocery store is a good example. Can I give you a really brief example?
Absolutely.
So last week, I think I might have even mentioned this to you before, but last week I was at the grocery store, and I have strategies for the grocery store and which grocery store I go to, because I go to one that has low aisles, not really high aisles, wider aisles, and I go to one, and I go early in the morning. All key things, right? Because I try to minimize the overload, So having a lower aisle is really, really helpful for anyone who's out there struggling with that. If you can find a grocery store that's got lower, in my town, Trader Joe's is the one that I go to, because it's really, it just feels less scary to me when I walk in. Everything isn't swimming as much. But what I would say is last week I was at the grocery store at Trader Joe's early in the morning, And my husband was there too. He was on a different aisle, and like sometimes we'll split the list, and he'll do some and I'll do some, and then we come together, you know. And it's a good strategy. Like it's just a good way to get it done. However, I was by myself pushing the cart, and I push a cart. It's another strategy. It gives me a feeling of a little bit more protection, like people aren't coming right straight at me, you know. So I'm pushing the cart, and all of a sudden I had one of those really intense derealization attacks, and you're thinking, I can't do this. What am I going to do? I'm going to panic right here, right now. And I suddenly just went, in the past, I would have gone, okay, I'm just going to run to the bathroom and like be by myself and do that. But I thought, I'm sorry, my cat's jumping around. Hold on.
No, it's okay.
There you go, buddy. But I thought, you know what? No, I did exactly what we talked about earlier. You said earlier, I said, I'm fine. I'm here. I'm okay. Like this has happened before. I can get through this. So I just actually brought my cart over to the side of the aisle, stood there and closed my eyes for, I would say, at least 20 seconds, and I breathed. And I usually will like do some square breathing first. So it's just like 4 seconds in, hold for 4 seconds, 4 seconds out, and just keep going 4 seconds each direction. I start with that because it's easy. And then as I calm down, it brings that, like you were talking about the vagus nerve, it really taps into the parasympathetic, that resting place, you know, where you're calm and you can actually feel it. You know, you're not in fight or flight anymore. You're not in fight, freeze. I was in freeze, actually, was what I was in. You're not in that anymore. You can actually feel everything, your blood pressure, everything, just calming. So I was feeling it. I did the four seconds, you know, each way, square breathing. And then once I get to that and I can do that comfortably, then I'll go, I might do like 5 seconds in, pause, and then do 7 seconds out. I'll do a longer exhale. And that longer exhale is the moment the moments when I'm tapping into the parasympathetic.
Yes.
That rest and digest mode. That's so important for our stomach, our gut health as well, right? And for our brain. So yeah, for me, that moment at the grocery store was it was a lesson for me about you can do this everywhere. You do it at home all the time. You do meditation at home, but to do it in the grocery store, or someone can do it. It doesn't matter where you are. If you're somewhere that triggers you, a restaurant, a noisy restaurant, we all hate those. Anywhere that triggers you, you can just do it. As long as it's safe and you're not going to hurt anyone. I mean, like don't do it driving down the highway or something like that. But I mean, I think it's really important. Have you found that that's helped you being able to do some breathing practice? Has that helped you? I've seen it help me. That's why I think it's huge.
1,000%. It's I do it every day. I do something called the Wim Hof breathing method in the morning.
Can you tell me what it is? I don't know that one.
So basically, you 30 times. You deep in and exhale.
Expand, right? Like,
yes. And then after you do that 30 times, you deep in again, and then release about 70% of your air, and you hold it like that for a minute and a half to 2 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, and then you hold, and at the beginning it's difficult. You start to feel like you're choking, but you get to a point that your brain is like, wait a minute, I'm okay. Yeah. And then you kind of like get into this. It's so hard to explain. I'll send you a video about it. You get to this leveling spot where then you, after the minute and a half, you breathe in again, and you can feel like your whole body just letting go. It's just like, let's go. Oof. And then it's almost like a reset. It's almost like it resets. Yes, it resets your system. So I do that every day in the mornings. And then in the evening, I do the one that you're saying. 5 in, hold at the pause, 7 out.
7 out.
But I do it.
Time.
Yeah, but I do it instead of 5 and 7. I do 15 in.
Well, because you've been practicing.
Yeah, and then I hold it at the pause, and then 25 out.
Okay, so I need to build up to that, because I can do, usually the most I will do, like I do 5 and 7 just for like a quick, like at the grocery store, works beautifully. First do some square breathing, then I do 5 and 7. But I want to try this for at home, like to go deeper with the breathing, because I think you've built up your lung capacity, which is fantastic.
And it just Gigi, just relax you, but take it step by step. Don't overwhelm yourself. Get into that point, because I've been doing it since last October. So now I can even hold it almost 3 minutes at the exhale. I hold it almost 3 minutes. but my brother and I have been practicing daily.
You guys are like Houdini now. You're underwater.
Well, it's called the Wim Hof method. I'll send it to you. I'll send you a link.
I think it's so interesting because I think that what you're talking about too, there's two pieces to it. One is the like tapping into your parasympathetic, understanding the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system and how the vagus nerve can work. I mean, we all know what it feels like when we're panicked, we're nauseous, we're sweating, and all those things are happening. But we have the power to calm that down. So there's that piece of it and what you're doing. But also there's the piece that's just about becoming as disciplined as you can, you know. And I think the more disciplined we become in this journey, like the more we every single day exercise. Like I don't skip a day. I never skip a day. Even the days when I'm like holding onto furniture to move. And I don't have many days like that anymore, but I did for a long time. I had days where I had to hold onto the wall or hold onto furniture. But I still exercised. Whatever I could do. It wasn't the same kind of exercise I did before, but it was still exercise. And I did it every day. And I did my vestibular exercises and I do my vision exercises every day. I never skipped. Even when I'm really struggling. And even on those days, I feel better after I've done it. It might not be fun to do, but I feel better after I've done it. So I think what you're talking about with the breathing is also like that. It's like becoming disciplined at something that you never expected to become disciplined at, but becoming disciplined at like, oh, I'm going to do my eye exercises right now, every single day. You know, like that's not something I ever thought I'd be doing. These crazy things. I get on my balance board and I'm looking at alphabets and doing all these crazy motions. But that discipline in and of itself is a powerful tool. And then on top of it, I'm gaining, you know, the skill and I'm training my eyes and you're training your lungs and your body to adapt. And I think the more we can do that, the more this journey becomes something that we own. It's not just taking over. We own this journey. It's ours. It's our life. It's the only one we have. Yes. So we've got to cherish it. So it comes back to that again and again for me, that acceptance. And I have this necklace actually that I bought myself this year. It's like a Christmas present. It's just a little bar of silver, but I had the word joy put on it. And I chose that as my word for the year because I made a decision at Christmas time. I was like, I always have a word for the year. And I said, joy is going to be my word. And I told some people and they were like, joy, really? Like, what's joy? It's like, your life is so hard right now. And I'm like, well, my life is hard right now, but there are moments of joy. Like, this, like when my cat climbs on my lap and he wants to cuddle. I mean, there's joy. There just is. It's there for us to find. So, and I think discipline helps. Weirdly, I think discipline helps with that.
Yeah,
Is that like crazy ramblings of a mad cat woman?
Is that gonna be a future episode or what? Like call it like that? No, I think you're 100% correct. The discipline helps, and then it is part of the holistic approach. It is, and I believe that you have tapped into a very powerful part of you, finding joy in moments of darkness. So I kudos. I'm very proud of you because
so much. I feel the same way about you because I keep seeing you doing stuff, and I'm like, how is he doing that? How is he doing that? Like you post stuff on Instagram, I'm like, how is this man doing all this stuff? Did you do like cold water therapy or something?
I'm still doing that. Yeah.
Are you still doing it? Is it working? What is it for? I don't know what it does. I haven't looked at the post closely enough yet. I was scrolling through one day when I shouldn't have been because I was like so dizzy. But I was like, is that Johan in a bathtub of like ice water? What is he doing? And I couldn't even read that day, so I don't even know what you were doing. So what does it do?
Anti-inflammatory. So it helps me. It calms down my body, my nervous system as well, because they actually, when you put yourself in cold water, your body goes into panic mode.
Yeah.
Your body goes into like, get me out of here. This is uncomfortable. But you teach your body to be okay with that. So eventually, when I get a disease spell that is very strong, or when my vision disturbances are very strong, my mind is already predisposed to be like, hey, wait a second, I don't need to panic. I'm okay. I'm used to the world. So yeah, so
this is another way of accessing that acceptance and that like being present in the moment. It's just another way of doing it.
Yes, and it also helps with inflammation. So I put my neck under freezing water to a certain point, because if you put it for too long, you're gonna get a headache. but which we don't want. We don't want any more headaches. So I put it to a point where, because I don't know if you experienced this, Gigi, but my neck is always very tense, like it's very sore. I feel like I have a pack of bricks on my neck. So that's why I put ice on my neck every day too.
Me too.
But but the cold therapy just like releases those muscles in the neck, and then for a couple hours I feel like my neck is fine. So cold therapy is yeah.
So I'm fascinated by that, and I was wondering too, talking about that whole neck issue, because the cervicogenic issue is part of it too. And I'm going to a new osteopath tomorrow. I've never been to an osteopath, but I'm going tomorrow.
Oh, you're gonna love it. You're gonna love it.
Just have her like look at my neck, my back, everything, and just talk to me about this whole thing, because I feel like my vision therapist said, go to this woman, she's amazing. So I'm excited to go. But I keep thinking, the neck piece of it is one of the hardest pieces to deal with. I ice it, I heat it, I do tons of exercises for it. And I've never had neck issues before this. This isn't like, I have age, like for years I've had back problems and neck problems. I had them. However, like everyone, I work on computers. I have forward head posture just like everyone else does, because we live in an age of, phones and computers and stuff. But I think that learning strategies like that, like what you're talking about, can be really helpful, because it's hard to find long-lasting ways to help with the neck pain. Pretty much everyone I know with vestibular disorders has neck pain. I don't really. Has that been your experience too?
Yeah. I think everybody has. I haven't met one person that doesn't have neck pain with vestibular disorder.
Me neither. And I was thinking about the doctors that you were interviewing. They were saying that they were mentioning neck pain as one of the many symptoms. But I was also thinking about, like, they were sort of listing off a whole bunch of symptoms. I was like, oh, that's me. Like going along with them, going, those are all me too. But I was also thinking, as I was listening to the interview, how do you feel about right now you're diagnosed with vestibular migraine, and they're talking about it like, and this is kind of what my suspicion has been about vestibular migraine. For a lot of people, it's not the right diagnosis. It might be for a small portion of the people who are being diagnosed with it. People maybe who already got migraines, and now this is another piece of their migraine experience. But I think there's a lot of people who are being diagnosed with it because they don't know what else to tell us.
Yes.
And they called it a garbage diagnosis. And I think for some of us, for me, when I was told that, until I went to my eye specialist, who was like, no, you actually have a visual problem. Like, you do have a problem in addition to BPPV. You've got this. And I really think there's something going on with you've got to be practicing neuroplasticity, because your brain needs to learn how to do this again. There's a lot of stuff going on. But until I met him and had him talk to me about that, and I felt like listening to the doctors that you interviewed just reinforced all of it again for me. Until I had that happen, I was like, what is vestibular migraine? I have it 24/7. Does this, what? I don't have headaches. I do get headaches, but I don't have migraines. Like,
yeah, I know it.
To me, I was like, this doesn't feel like a real diagnosis. They don't know what to tell me. So I'm just curious for you, if that's been your experience. Like, do you? I reached the point where I didn't care anymore what the diagnosis was. I just wanted to keep working to get better.
Exactly. So I'm like you. I'm looking at a holistic approach to get better. I do believe it is hard for us to comprehend the power of a migraine when we don't really get the headaches. We often get more visual symptoms than anything else. Mm-hmm. But I've noticed that when I do stuff to help the migraine protocols, the visual things.
Anti-inflammatory stuff.
Yeah, the visual field improves as well. So maybe it is common also, well, not common, but it is possible for people to have vestibular migraines and also have vertical heterophoria or binocular disorder on top of that, because I don't know, maybe the binocular disorder was the cause of the vestibular migraines, or maybe the migraines caused the eye binocular damage or binocular deficiency or whatever dysfunction. So they could be even connected. They could be even related in some way, right? But I agree with you. The vestibular migraine could be a way how doctors are like, well, I don't know what else to diagnose you with, so take that.
And then they'll say, like, does anyone else in your family get migraines? And I go, well, my grandmother got them. Like, but like, it doesn't mean anything to me. But then I think the other diagnosis that is done is thrown out there a lot is also triple PD, that persistent perceptual postural dizziness. I was also told that I might have that. I've been told I might have so many things. I was told I might have maldebarkment. I don't have maldebarkment. I just don't. I don't. The symptoms don't match up. But I kept being told you might have these things because they didn't know what else to tell me, and that's very frustrating. I also feel like it's lacking compassion for people, but it's also kind of irresponsible. I don't know. I just don't like
it. It is negligence. It is negligence. You're right. It is negligence because they just throw a diagnosis. Yeah, they throw just a diagnosis that it kind of fits the mold, but they are not 100% sure what it is.
Yeah, and then when they do all your testing, and you're sitting in that dark room spinning around in a chair, and they're putting hot water in your ears and making you sick and doing all that stuff to you, and then they come back and tell you, well, your tests look fairly normal. There's only one that came out a little bit abnormal, and you don't have neuritis, and you don't have infections, and so there's nothing really, really wrong with you. You're going to get better. You're going to be fine. Yeah, you have BPPV, and yeah, you have a vision disorder, but you're fine. I'm like, no, I'm not fine. No, it's crazy. Like you start to feel like a crazy person. So I think it's important to really to know that there's people out there that you can talk to, because otherwise you feel so lost. And so somebody actually said to me at one point, when I had been told for the umpteenth time, oh, you just have to stop being so anxious. And I said to someone, I don't remember who it was, but I said, it was someone who didn't know me before the disorder. And I said, I was never an anxious person before this disorder. Like of course we all have anxiety sometimes, but I never had panic attacks. My life was run by anxiety. I'd never been on, I'm on anti-anxiety medication right now, which I don't want to be on, and I'm slowly tapering off of. It's hell, but I'm doing it. But I just, when I said to them, I was never really anxious before, they were like, oh, I have a hard time believing that. Of course you were. Like, this couldn't be as bad as it is I'm like, I don't even know how to answer that because they haven't experienced this. This is like such an extreme experience. And my there have been times when I've been, in a support group where I've talked to someone online or someone face to face, because I actually know some people in my community also who have vestibular disorders or who have had them in the past. And they've said things to me like, I had type 1 diabetes, and I also have a vestibular disorder. I would take type 1 diabetes over a vestibular disorder. I'm like, what? Really? They're like, yeah, because a vestibular disorder controls everything. Like you don't feel. I'm listening to a book right now called The Ghost in My Brain. Have you read that? It's an interesting book. I can't remember the author's name, and I'm sorry. This is my brain fog talking. But the book is called The Ghost in My Brain, and it's a really interesting book. I've been listening to it. It's about a guy who had a concussion in a car accident and had symptoms for almost a decade, and people wrote him off. They just wrote him off. And he's an amazing human. Like, he found a way to get better. So it's a cool book to listen to.
Check it out. Yeah, definitely. I love learning.
But what was I going to say about it, though? There was some brain fog. But he had this, I think he had a similar experience where people were just like, well, just stop freaking out about it. Stop worrying, stop making such a big deal about this. And you're like, but it's literally here with me every second of the day. Oh, and then he also said, this is what he said. People with brain injuries, and I think people with vestibular disorders in general, and a lot of people with vestibular disorders have brain injuries too. That's one of the causes. And that's, in my case, likely part of the cause, but not for sure. No one knows for sure. But he said, and I thought this was so brilliant because it so applies, and I think it will apply for you too. He said, people with my condition have this feeling all the time like we're aliens. We're not really humans anymore. And I was like, that's a brilliant way to put it. He said, because we don't really fit. We can be in a room of people and we're just sitting there going, none of this. First of all, it's horrible being in a room full of people, but so dizzying. But also just nobody here has any idea what I'm experiencing right now. It's nothing like what they're experiencing. So it was such a great way to put it.
Yeah, very nice. Gigi, we are having so much fun that we went over the actual time.
I know.
I would love to do a follow-up interview with you because we have so much still to talk about medications, We still have to talk about neuroplasticity is huge, so we still have to talk about that.
And it
So,
connects too, I think. It's
so we can definitely do a follow-up episode. But is there any closing remarks that you want to say to someone that is going through any chronic illness, especially a vestibular disorder right now?
Yeah, I would say stay curious. That's my biggest thing, is stay curious. Don't let the disorder, the illness, don't let that take over so much that you stop being curious. If you can stay curious, then hope is not far behind. I really believe that. That's I think my number one thing. And I know for you and me both, that's what's kind of, it's been huge for both of us.
Yeah. Gigi, where can people find you if they are trying to get a hold of you? Where can they find you online?
The best way is Instagram, and it's just gigi.thibodeau. So it's gigi.thibodeau, and Thibodeau is THIBODEAU. And I'm on Instagram, and I'm there several times a week usually. So and if people want to private message me, they can too. That's fine. I'm sure you get even more because you do these videos, but I get messages all the time from people going, "Hi, I saw a post that you did," and then we connect, and it's awesome.
Yes.
Love it.
It's community.
Yeah. Community. Yeah.
Gigi, I want to thank you for this opportunity. It's a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure.
To do. And we definitely need to do a follow-up because there are so many more topics that I'd like to talk to you about.
Yeah, we'll do it in a few months when I've been doing more therapy and see if I'm any better and if you're any better.
Sure. And especially so you can share your osteopath experience because you're gonna like it. Osteopath is a whole different thing. Yeah.
Do you like it? You love it?
I enjoy it. Yeah, it's fun.
I'm really thank
you. Yeah. No, my pleasure. And keep spreading joy in the world because you're a very joyful person. So that means a lot to a lot of people. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. And you do the same. I'm so honored to be able to be on here, and thanks for all the good work you do. And my cat wants to say goodbye.
Hey, bye. Yeah, he was part of the interview the whole time. Yeah.
Totally. Thank you.
All right. Gigi, have a great afternoon. Talk to you soon.
Okay, take care.
Bye.